That's definitely not the message I want to share, that you've got to suppress who you are to get people to take you seriously. We don't have to be just one thing. The fact that this is happening and that people are so easily racist and sexist and horrible, that's actually why I have to keep going. My whole thing has always been about, you cannot put me in a box.
I'm Lorna Jane Clarkson, activewear designer, author and founder of Lorna Jane. And this is Never Give Up, a series where we explore the stories of women who have faced challenges head on and come out stronger. In this episode, I'm joined by Maria Thattil, who stepped onto the world stage after winning Miss Universe Australia. We'll speak about how her success was a matter of survival in Maria's youth and how her family's strength helped instill in her the values that would eventually take her career to extraordinary heights. Maria Thattil, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start at the very beginning.
Yes.
You grew up in Melbourne, Australia. What was your childhood like and how would you describe family life?
When I think of my childhood, so much of it, Lorna, is family. I think back to being one of like 9 cousins, and every weekend I was surrounded by music, by food, by culture. There were impromptu family parties at someone's house every weekend, and it was really sweet. Like, I definitely grew up with a very strong sense of community, but childhood was interesting for me as what I would call a third culture kid, because that's where, you know, you're not first generation. Like, I've come from a daughter of immigrants, you know, so I think that experience of growing up in a place where I so desperately wanted to assimilate to what I thought were Australian traditions and norms and values. You know, kids had a lot more freedom, and the food that they ate and all those sorts of things, the movies they watched. But then I guess I grew up within my strong sense of community, and maybe I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm in between two worlds here.
Yeah, I can relate to that because my parents emigrated when I was 11 and really influential, you know, at that age, you're really influenced by things.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I adopted the Australian accent straight away. Whereas my sister, who was 2 years older than me, and still today my mother, they still have English accents.
Wow.
But for me, I wanted so much to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
And then I think as you get older, you realise that you actually don't want to be like everyone else. You want to be different and unique.
100%. And that's been such an interesting journey for me. But it's funny you mentioned the accent, because you asked me the pronunciation of my surname when we started, right? So I say Maria Thattil. My brother pronounces our surname differently. So he says Dom Thattil. And the reason for that is our accents evolved differently. And I fully think my Australian accent evolved out of survival. Like, it was, I just was like, I don't want to draw attention to the fact that I'm different. But exactly to your point, I sort of went through my 20s and went through this whole thing where I sort of went through this period of anger that I self-rejected these things that made me different. And now it's like, well, all of it makes me me. It's this beautiful hybrid of all these different things.
And you try to regain them back, you know.
Yes.
It's like, what is it about myself? And you have to go searching again.
Yeah.
Whereas you had it all the time.
Yeah, you never lost it. I think you realise you tried to suppress it.
So I guess, like any childhood, you had this idyllic cultural family childhood, but we all have our challenges, don't we?
Oh, yeah, of course. And it was so beautiful in that one thing about my parents, to me, they became my inner voice, you know. They sort of breathed love and faith and confidence into me from such an early age. Like, my dad used to sit on the edge of my bed when I was like 7, 8, 9.
I love him on your socials, by the way.
Everyone loves him. They're
him.
obsessed with him. You know, my first TV interview, he was in on it. Like, they wanted him as well. Like, Dad is loved. But he used to sit on the edge of my bed and he's like my mentor. He'd sit and tell me, Maria, what do you want to do? You know, like, what do you love? And one of the things he used to say to me was, leave your footprint no matter what you do. When I was growing up, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, then psychologist. Next thing, I ended up here, but it's always leave your footprint. And Mum and Dad were really amazing in that they instilled strong values. But, you know, we had our challenges. Like, my parents, they moved here from India, and they didn't come with much. They worked in, you know, factory jobs. They did shift work, and I didn't come from a lot. It was very humble upbringings, but I think it made me really appreciate what I did have and learn the value of money and learn the value of things like financial literacy and the importance of setting yourself up. So there are things that I've learned now that I had no idea of growing up. No one taught it to me. I had to figure it out myself. But I think I credit it to not having things handed to me
and
on
you
a silver
learn about
platter.
hard work.
Absolutely.
Because anything in life takes hard work. Nothing comes easy. You talk to athletes, talk to business owners.
Yeah.
You need to witness hard work.
Achievement for me has always been it's been a thing for survival for me. So it was in school, I was straight A student, got honours in both my degrees. Like it was, I have to succeed because that's how I'm going to keep my head above water, because I grew up around that sort of instability at times. But because of their sacrifices, I've had the luxury of being able to take risks and now be in this place where I want to learn so much more and expand horizons more than I knew, than they knew, because I know what it's like to not have a lot. I think witnessing their hard work and having a level of struggle, I know I'm still very privileged, had a roof over my head, food on the table, but I think it definitely shaped the woman and person that I am today.
Yeah. And I think seeing their sacrifices, I mean, I think anything that my parents did for me, I think they subtly reminded me. And so it made me want to work harder.
Yeah.
And make them proud, because they were giving up things so that I could have this pathway to something better in life. So love our parents, right?
When I've gotten older, I sort of look at my mum and dad now and I think my dad was once a theatre kid who liked to perform, and my mum loved makeup, and she was just this young girl with the whole world in front of her. And now it's just seeing that and seeing them for who they are. Everything I do is wanting to, my goal is to take care of them so they can enjoy life, give them whatever they want, because I know how hard they work to give us everything we needed. So I think I feel very lucky to have that relationship with my parents. We both are, because not everyone does.
Who would you say was your biggest influence during your childhood, and why?
I don't think I realised at the time I was influenced by her, but now that I'm an adult, I can look back and say, oh, I definitely see where I got that from. My late grandma, my mum's mum. So her story is amazing, by the way. So she was orphaned, 16, with, 5 younger siblings to take care of in post-colonial India. They had just come out of the war. She had nothing. Her parents had passed away. And she started little side hustles, selling fruits, vegetables, to all, working really hard, and then eventually set up her own schools. She became a successful entrepreneur and changed not just her life, but she changed her kids' life, she changed her siblings' lives. And she, to me, is an example of when you empower one woman or one girl, you don't just empower her, you empower generations to come.
Oh, yeah. I really do believe in that butterfly effect.
100%. 100%.
When you meet someone, you don't really know the true impact of the influence you're having on them and where that can go. And I once had a lunch at my house, and I brought these women together that didn't even know they were connected, but because I was the connector.
You were that,
and unintentionally, but I had watched it unfold. It was incredible. Amazing. And some of these women had influenced me, and in turn had influenced each other. And then we'd gone on to influence the next generation. So it was incredible and just so powerful.
So powerful.
And I guess for me, it's just that thing where you have to be mindful of when you do meet people, how you are, because you could change.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I have all this power, but you can change slightly the trajectory of where they're going.
Oh, but you do, Lorna, you do. And I think just what you just said, and even tying it back to my grandma, one of my favourite quotes is by Maya Angelou talking about legacy. And she says, you'll never be able to quantify your legacy because it's all the lives you touch. You have no way of knowing exactly what you said. You say one thing, or you believe in someone, or even our interactions. I came away telling so many people, I'm in love with this woman, I'm obsessed with her, because you were just so.
And we were messaging each other.
Messaging well, now I'm obsessed with you. It's, because those interactions, it's exactly that, where you don't know how long someone will hold on to that and what it does for them. And my grandma was like that. So she was really loving, but very entrepreneurial, very progressive. She was such a boss at a time when women didn't really have very many rights. And I think I get that sort of tenacity and drive and an entrepreneurial streak from her.
There wouldn't have been many female entrepreneurs during her time. And I often talk about that in my story because I didn't have any examples. And for me, it was really tough in the beginning because I didn't have any women that I could look to that they had started their own business and battled through this male-dominated world, you know, where people would take her seriously. I mean, I was a fitness instructor and, you know, really bubbly and, you know, talk too much and all those things that people just thought I was just so girly and didn't have a business mind.
Yes.
And I didn't, but I had a dream and a passion and I wanted to do it. So it's great, I think, that you had that example.
This is who you were. You were this beautiful, bubbly girl who talked too much and you thought you didn't have a business mind. But who's to say because you were extroverted and you maybe came from a different background, you didn't have the commercial acumen or the savvy to figure it out? Like we've been given these models of business and power and success that look exactly like what you said. It's often male dominated. In one of my keynotes, I open by asking people to close their eyes. And I describe an entrepreneur, I describe a business owner, I describe all these things and I say, what do you picture? And very often it is a white, middle-aged man. And I think for someone like you, where you've come up into this, who's to say success and power has to look a certain way? Now you've given an example and a whole new definition of what that could look like to so many women. And I think that's amazing. No, that's so, it's important though, right?
But it's
like, it's so important.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's okay.
It's not often that I hear that, and it's this thing that we have, and I don't know whether it's just women, but we go through life thinking that someone's going to tap us on the shoulder and say, hey, what do you think you're doing? Like this imposter syndrome that we think we're faking it till we make it.
Yeah.
And I think that's because we're treading on new territory, like we're going
100%.
into new realms.
Yes.
Like when I started, there was no activewear, you know, like, and I would tell people are going to wear this stuff, they're going to do their errands in it, they're going to go to work in it, you know, women are going to change the way they dress and that's going to change how they live. People thought I was absolutely crazy. You know, I couldn't get a landlord to sign me up for a store. So the world has definitely changed, but I still have that feeling that someone's going to say, what? You think you're a fashion designer?
I have that feeling because you know, relative to you, I'm, you know, 4 years into a media career, so still kind of new, but exactly what you felt, it was imposter syndrome. It's, hang on, who do you think you are to be taking up that space? And it was, I think, Miss Universe was how all this got started for me. I was only the third, and to this day, I'm still only the third woman of colour to represent Australia.
And what is it, like 69?
73 years now.
Wow.
So at the time that I did it, I was the third and still am the third. It was interesting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was genuinely one of the greatest things that have ever happened to me in my life because I think it gave me a chance to start like a conversation about national identity because, to your point, Lorna, it wasn't just the internal voice in my head. It was people actually saying, why do we have someone who should be Miss India representing Australia? She doesn't look Australian. She's not there. So very quickly I was like, right, I'm in many of the spaces I'm going to be in. I am challenging ideas of what a certain thing is meant to look like, just as you did. But I think that's why you have to do it. The fact that that's still happening is exactly why you need to be there to show people different representations of this is what a fashion designer and a business owner can look like. This is what a Miss Australia can look like, who also happens to have 2 degrees and do this and that. And I was talking about politics. And someone was like, why are we listening to a Miss Universe give her opinion on politics? And someone was like, she was nominated for a scholarship to Harvard University based on her academic results and her 2nd degree, because I was. Just because I could do the catwalk at Miss Universe doesn't mean I don't also have the capacity to be educated and then also be bubbly and then also make stupid TikToks and then also be whatever.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to be just one thing. And I think it's so important. Like I will never, ever feel bad for talking a lot and being bubbly and being outspoken and being these things because that is so dangerous to other people, especially young women who would be looking up to us. Not just young women, young people. You know, that's definitely not the message I want to share, that you've got to suppress who you are to get people to take you seriously.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the best things for me about owning my own business is that I can be myself.
Yes, you can.
You know, I don't have to apologise for being all of those things because I actually think I'm not capable of changing it anyway.
But why should you?
I know.
It's important that you define success and happiness by your own representations.
I think through the most difficult parts of my career, whenever I've been challenged by the media or by anyone, I just go back to doing the work. So my happy place is being with my designers, designing clothes, even though, you know, with my husband, Bill, I run Lorna Jane as well. So I'm into everything. I'm a little bit of a control freak.
You and I both.
Yes. Just like to, know what's happening.
Yeah.
But I still love designing and I love doing the work. So doing all of these, high profile things and celebrity things and going to every event takes me away from that.
Yeah.
And I think you can be criticised for so many things, but the proof is in the work that you do. And that's where I go. That is my place to, I guess, prove people wrong.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's not the reason to do it, and it's not the reason I do it, but it just comes back to people can do and say whatever they like about you, and they can try to put you in a box, and they can do all of those things, but they can never take away how good you are at your work.
No.
I mean, I've created this incredible business and I'm extremely proud of it. And I would have to say I'm one of the most successful fashion designers in Australia. Thank you very much.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am.
It. I love it.
I do that not for the money or for the acclaim, because I want to be good at what I do.
But you don't have to apologise for that. There's so many women, that sense of, oh my gosh, I have to be humble and modest. Shout your achievements from the rooftop. What you've created is incredible. It is such an important example for young people to see that you can do it, you can do it on your terms, and you should be proud of the life you've created. It's so important. And I just think that's a really good example.
You've talked about being bullied at school.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, we've all got one of those stories, I'm sure. But can you tell us about that and how it affected you or didn't affect you?
When I was growing up, I guess it was in a time where like 2000s, early 2000s, and I graduated in 2010. And at the time, people weren't really sensitive to things like racism. It wasn't really an open conversation. We didn't have social media in the way that we do now, where I guess a lot of people engage in that discourse and there's a bit more awareness. Not to say that it doesn't happen, it still happens and it's rampant, but like in school, people got away with saying the most insensitive, racist, and like, I'm going to say politically incorrect stuff. And because it wasn't really challenged in mainstream media, in culture broadly speaking, I sort of felt like, well, this is the price to pay for being different. You are different. You don't see yourself represented in media. I didn't see it on the news. I didn't see it in Aussie shows. When I'd go to supermarkets to buy makeup, they literally didn't have my skin tone. And when I would look for media representation, the only time you really saw South Asian people was when you're watching The Simpsons and there are these exaggerated caricatures. So like all of this reinforces subliminally and subconsciously like, okay, I don't fit what is celebrated as beautiful and Australian and belonging. Like I don't fit that. And so when people say things, whether it's a microaggression to something super overtly racist, you think, well, this is the price to pay for being different. And so I used to laugh along when people would make racist jokes about what my dad might have done for work, about my skin color, about the food we ate. And it was every day. And I have this memory because I drive by my school to this day, and this is the impact that bullying can have on kids. And whenever I drive past my school, I remember the drop-off point that my mum would drop me off at, because every morning I would get a pit in my stomach when I got to that point. And it's like, oh my God, like I've got to go to school. Like, my hands are shaking talking about it. Like I remember it so vividly. And so, I drive by it and I remember it and it's like, you're not that little girl anymore, it's okay. And you use your voice to speak up for kids who are like you, which is amazing. But I will never forget how it felt to go to school and to feel so emotionally and psychologically unsafe and to think, I deserve this. And what that does to a person's self-esteem, what that does to their perceptions of what I'm capable of, where I belong, it's so damaging, Lorna. And so it's interesting because I wrote a book and it was rooted in, so my first degree was psychology. So the book is 10 steps to change your life. And it's things that I've done. And a lot of it is experiences that I had. And there's one chapter that talks about experiences with racism in childhood. And it's interesting because a lot of the people who perpetrated the racist bullying actually reached out to me. And it's okay. I got very big messages that were very vague, like never over, like, you know, I was racist to you in school and I'm sorry. It was always, I sometimes reflect on what it was like in school and I'm so, you know, sorry if I did anything that made you uncomfortable. It was messages like that. Which, you know, it would be nice to sort of just say it is what it is. Like, it was racist and you didn't know better at the time and that's okay. But I also think I'm not the same kid that I was when I was 16, 17. And they might have had that growth too. And what I love is that by sharing this, a lot of these people have kids themselves. Teach your children not to do what you did and break that cycle. And I don't want to say, oh, it was character building, because if there are kids going through bullying now, no, you don't deserve that. Nobody deserves that. And you can build character in other ways, but it is something that you can overcome. And I do encourage people to speak up about it, speak against it, and use it to serve others in some way, which is what I hope I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, friends of mine, they've been going through it with their children, and it's so difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
It's really, really difficult.
Yeah.
In 2020, you made history by becoming Miss Universe Australia, only the third woman of colour to represent Australia in 69 years. So you're saying now it's 73 years, is that right?
73 or 74, yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What did that achievement mean to you on a personal level?
My gosh, it was huge. You know, I used to watch Miss Universe with my mum when I was younger, right? And like, the women were just the most beautiful, glamorous, gorgeous, like ethereal beings.
Yeah, how do you pick a winner? Like, honestly.
And I would always look at the Miss Indias, because that was who I would sort of relate to, and that, like, you know, they've got similar hair and skin, which was really lovely. And I'll come back to that particular comment about why it's personally significant to me. So I'd look at them and think they were wonderful. But at the same time, I also never thought I would end up on that stage myself, like never in a million years. I am 5'3". There is usually historically a height requirement in most countries. You think that Miss Australia has to look a certain way, right? And so I guess for me, what ended up shifting was in 2019, I saw an Indian Australian lawyer win, and that blew my mind. I knew her because, funnily enough, we both worked in the same government building. So here I am thinking, here's this policy advisor, this lawyer who's won. And it made me think, maybe I've got to check my own misperceptions and biases about what a Miss Universe is and what that woman could be. And it just, from the night I saw her win, Lorna, I had this overwhelming feeling of, I have to know what it feels like. And I could not shake it. It was like I ate, slept, breathed that vision. And I knew, I'm like, okay, next year when applications open, I'm going to do it.
This is what I love, because it leads into that butterfly effect.
Yes.
Her doing that led you to believe that your dreams would come true.
Because she showed me what was possible. And so getting to do that and be that, and all of a sudden people were talking about, wow, she is Miss Australia, but she looks like us, like a lot of people who were ethnically diverse were saying, that's my Miss Australia, you know.
Oh, that's so cool.
My dentist, who's like this middle-aged Greek man, said to me, you represent kids like me who never thought we could do it. Go there and do it the best you can.
See, I was British. And even when I came to Australia, I was called a Pommy and, you know, prisoner of Mother England. Like, fancy being called that. And all of the Greeks and the Italians were called terrible things, you know. So it was that era where everyone was labelled.
Yeah. Everyone, you know, for whatever your differences were. I remember what it felt like to be a little girl and to look at the Miss Indias and say, wow, like they're so spectacular. And then I got to be that for kids who maybe don't feel like they fit, you know, what ideas of beauty, power and success look like. And here they are seeing someone different doing it and doing it honestly and doing it her way. I loved getting to be that representation and show someone else what's possible for them.
Yeah.
That's everything.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Okay, so let's go on to challenging beauty standards and stereotypes. I love this about you. And you're known for speaking out and challenging beauty standards and stereotypes. And in the Herald Sun, you once said, and I quote, hope I do you justice here, no matter what you do or how you look, people are going to comment on your body.
Yep.
The problem isn't your body. The problem is society's entitlement to critique, judge, and tell someone else how they should present themselves.
Yeah.
Can you give us some context around this quote and how you navigate this unwanted criticism?
Women in particular, broadly, from the time you are a little girl, like our bodies are up for discussion. And the way we look is up for discussion, and how we present ourselves, you know, whether we dress too provocatively or not sexy enough, or when you're a little kid, are you starting to, you know, maybe fill out and your body's developing and people think it's okay to talk about that. And just, you know, if you want to be taken seriously and look smart, you can't dress a certain way. There are so many rules. It's like you're trying to walk this tightrope of, if I want to be taken seriously as a good woman, a strong woman, a professional woman, I have to tick all these boxes, and often they're conflicting. And so when I said that, it was because, yes, it was funny that when I did Miss Universe, people were saying, because she's 5'3", she can't do it. I'm like, that has no bearing on my substance or my capacity for impact. And so that was a great talking point. But that particular quote came up because I put up a picture of myself on the beach, and somebody said that to me about my bum having cellulite. And the thing is, my body, my weight fluctuates depending on what I'm doing. At the moment, I'm, you know, starting to train and get really fit and healthy again. I was the most fit I'd been for Miss Universe. And in between, you know, you go through holiday periods, you eat, whatever. Bodies change.
You can't live your life obsessed about your body.
No, like your body changes. And this is something I still have to fight, that conditioned voice. And I say conditioned because these ideas don't come from us. We're not born hating these things. We're told to hate these things. And so I put this up, and even I had that moment of looking and going, oh, like, I see my cellulite, but it's like, it's there. It's there when I'm 5 kilos lighter. It's there when it's just my body. It just is. And so I put it up, and someone had sent a message, like a vomit emoji or something, in response to my body.
Who does that?
I know. But that's it. It's like no one who's happy and well-adjusted and secure in themselves sends a stranger things like that. I commented and I shared that and I said that, and so many people felt seen by it and they appreciated it. And it's important to say, like, I am not in a marginalized body by any stretch. I'm a petite woman. I fit conventional standards of what, like, healthiness people expect it to look like. There are people who have disabilities who are larger, you know, have larger bodies, and they grow up experiencing, you know, systemic and structural disadvantage far greater than I do. But it's just this thing of, it's not about your body, it's about society's entitlement to comment. And so I just think it's important to not internalize it myself. And having the platform, I like to share it for that reason, because there's nothing and there has never been anything wrong with me. It's always, you know, the messages that come through, it's like, that's what people should be ashamed of.
Yeah, it's a great message, because I feel that we have to be reminded. You know, nobody wants someone to say something insulting about the way they look.
Yeah.
But we have to be reminded that they shouldn't be doing that, and as long as we're happy.
Yeah. We have this idea of what healthy looks like. There are some people who are naturally a little bit more thin. So I've had people say to me, you know, on the flip side, like, you need to eat a burger. Why are you so small? And it's like, my build is this, like, and then you have a little bit of cellulite and it's like, God, you're disgusting. And it's like, this is the only body I got. And I'm not going to try and keep the people pushing burgers on me and the people pushing cellulite is bad on me. I can't walk that tightrope. I just won't do it.
Sometimes you have to experience both to actually realise, well, I can't keep everybody happy. And then, well, why am I even trying? I've got a quote here that says, I've learned that I don't owe people anything just because I share a little bit. It doesn't mean I have to share everything. And what I'd like to know is, how has your public profile taken away your privacy? And can you remember that moment when you realised that you didn't have that luxury that most people have of just going about your life without people watching or recognising you?
Miss Universe, yes, in certain circles, people started to, recognize you when you're out and about. It's all lovely. But it was really after I did I'm a Celebrity, because that was like a primetime Aussie show. It's like a big family show. That's when I noticed, go out to the supermarket and you just want to look really gross in like your trackies. And
I know that.
And the thing is, someone might come up and say, oh my God, like, can I get
Like
a
when you
picture?
did the shoot for us.
Yes.
Yeah. That
which
girl
was
came
so
up and
lovely.
you hugged her and...
For the most part, like if people want to come up and say hi, I will always have two things for them. It's warmth and it's presence. And it's because the people who support you and believe in you, one, for me, that's why I wanted to get into this like you're the reason I want to do this. So I will always have presence for them. And also because they support you, you get to do what you do. But to get to do what you love and to impact people, I think it's worth it. But at the same time, my growth is that what I choose to share online, at the end of the day, consent is everything. And I might share something about my family, or I might share something about my health or my personal life. But when people start demanding things, like I get a lot of messages of people asking very personal questions, not even a hi, how are you, just to the point, like, that to me, I do sit back and wonder, how do you sit there and just send a message like that to someone you don't know? Because you'd never walk up to a stranger in the street. And I think the online world creates parasocial relationships in that way. But I just know when I block, delete, don't reply, like I don't block and delete everyone who asks me an inquisitive question, but it's like when it's rude or anything like that, I'm just careful to curate my space because I don't owe people anything. What I share is something that I choose to share, and the rest is my prerogative to keep certain things sacred and private.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach to it.
If someone walked up to me and said something like that, I would just walk away.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I don't have to sit with it.
So you're doing that social version.
Yeah.
Delete.
And I think it's been really lovely to kind of go, does this serve my purpose? Does this serve what I'm trying to grow into? No, I don't need it. It's not coming with me. So
I love that.
And I have a therapist. So
I love that too. I love that too.
So,
You recently joined the cast of Neighbours
Yep.
as Amira Devkar, which is an anagram for your name. Is that what you said?
Yeah, Maria and Amira.
I love that.
Yeah.
Your first major acting role. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What was the biggest challenge you faced transitioning from presenting and advocacy work to acting, and how did it help you grow as a performer?
I loved it. I loved it so much. Like I grew up watching Neighbours, so it was very cool that was the first thing I got to do. I trained at stage school growing up, did like theatre, I did it at school, I did acting lessons back in 2021 when I because I lost it after school when I thought, I guess I just have to go into corporate. I got rid of all my creative dreams because I just didn't think it was possible for me, right? So I went to uni, I worked in HR, and then after Miss Universe, I'm like, I'm gonna make this happen. Like I'm gonna go back to it.
It's funny how they stay with you because
some things never.
I wanted to be a
leave you.
journalist. Like I used to watch Young Event on TV and go, I want to be her,
Yeah.
And then I went into fashion design and I had this whole career, and then I've written 6 books. So you just keep coming back to the thing that's in your heart.
That's that thing that's in your heart. You feel like it almost doesn't come from you. It's like it just was there. So Lorna, I've got these family videos, and it's nice because my partner actually always brings this up when I'm doing auditions and stuff. She says, I see that kid in those videos. But my dad had a video camera. And the first time I wanted to be a performer was, I don't think I've ever shared this, but I used to watch The Amanda Show on Nickelodeon. Yeah. And that made me go, I want to do what she's doing. And so my brother and I and one of my cousins, we would make these little skits and record and make these little shows. So I've got this from when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old.
I love that.
And then went into stage school. Parents enrolled me because I said, I want to have my own show and do that sort of thing. And so it's always been there. I just lost it when, I guess, all those years of conditioning about who you are, where you fit, what's possible for you, it sort of stifled me for a little bit. And then when Miss Universe happened, that's when I said to myself, I'm going to set myself up media-wise, and I want to do the presenting and write the books and let people know this is what I believe. But once I tick off all those goals, I'm focusing on acting, and that's where I'm at now. And so moving into it was like a joy and a dream for me. I'm like, great, I've been waiting to do this. But the challenge was getting people to see me as not Maria the talking head, but Maria.
You're not a talking head.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like you, as in you, like,
Yeah.
I was a social commentator on Channel 9 and sort of people know you for your opinions, and then it's like, I want you to see me as something different. But I liked that challenge because my whole thing has always been about, you cannot put me in a box and I don't have to look like what you think a certain thing looks like for me to do it. And I've proved that to myself time and time again. And so now I'm in this place where acting is my focus, and I've just got a new acting agent for the last few months. We've had some incredible traction. I train with a coach in Sydney, and I have curated so much of my work to go, does it serve that? There's so much more that I'm saying no to. And I'm really excited for it.
And it's a really good example too of actually doing the work. I mean, you've done all the work in the background, and then you went on Neighbours. You were incredible, and now people are going to see you for that work, and you're just going to do more and more good work. And that's
so
it is.
excited.
Just got to go do the work. You
And
can't
it's
dream about
100%.
things. You just got to.
Well, that's what, and it's like, it's so interesting because especially with an industry like acting, I can't force anyone to give me anything. Like, you just have to do the work. And anyone who is in it knows this industry is full of rejection, and I'm effectively starting new in a whole new space, really. Like, for the last 4 years, I've built all the media stuff and it's been amazing, and the brands and all that. But now it's like I'm sort of at that starting point again in a whole new world. But for me, I'm not somebody who sits and waits for things to be handed. So in the interim, like, I'm auditioning a lot, but behind that, like I said, I'm going and working with the coach. I'm doing dialect coaching. So my American accent is good, and I'm ready when something comes up. I'm wanting to write a show with my brother, and we're starting that next year. So whether anyone sees it or not, it's like I am just going to be acting and operating out of the belief that this is where I'm going to be, and I fully believe that will call it to me.
And if you actually love the work, it doesn't matter if
it's not
anyone
work.
sees it.
It's all I want to be doing. Yeah. Every audition, like, genuinely, it is like, I'm so happy just to do it. And I know, and my attitude towards it is when I send it off, I'm so proud of the work that I've done, that whether or not it comes to me, I couldn't have done anything different. And I'm getting better every time. And I think you have to have that attitude, but not just in acting, for anyone. It's like, no matter what your pursuit is, if you know that you've done everything you can and you've done your best, the rest is out of your hands. And when it's your time, it'll be your time.
Yeah, and constantly learning. Every time you do it, as you said, you're just getting better and better.
Yeah, it's nice to watch my own growth. So I cringe at my auditions from last year, and I hope next year I'm cringing at my auditions that right now I'm like, I love that. It's so good. So I think I'm excited to see
perspective.
that growth.
We love a bit of perspective.
Yes.
So your work with 1,000 Voices for 1,000 Girls campaign is incredibly impactful. Can you share why you felt compelled to partner with World Vision and what this project means to you?
Oh, it was such a privilege. With World Vision, my mum, when I was in primary school, and even though, like I said, she used to work factory shifts, she really instilled in us the importance of charity. And even both my parents, we'd sing in the church choir, and like once a month we'd have charity drives where we'd
Hold on, you can sing too?
Look, I can sing in the shower. I do want to take lessons. But like, I grew up singing. So my family's a very musical family. Dad's on the piano, mum sings, I sing, my brother plays the drums. So, and I used to sing in the church choir. But, we used to sort of do these charity drives every month, and we'd collect food and donate it, and mum would take us door knocking after school. So I've always grown up knowing, like, it doesn't matter what little you have. If $5 is all you got to spare, that's everything. It doesn't matter if someone else has got 5,000. If your 5 is everything,
Yeah.
So with World Vision, like, I've fundraised for them growing up. So getting to be a goodwill ambassador for them now. So we've just announced that, which is really exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. To me, it's purpose. It's why wouldn't you use what you have to hopefully impact someone else? And with this particular campaign, it's so personal because it's talking about, if we can get 1,000 people sponsoring 1,000 girls, it talks about the statistics of how many will get out of sex trafficking and out of child marriages and the prospects, like, really it changes people's lives. And those girls that we're fundraising for and sponsoring and supporting, they are no different to my 16-year-old grandma who very easily could have succumbed to poverty or fallen into trafficking. And none of us would be here. Like, I'm here sitting on this couch because she didn't fall into those cycles of poverty and disadvantage.
It's still happening.
And it's still happening. So she, to me, is an example of, look what happens when you empower one girl. She started a widow's fund for the widows in her community. She took on kids who couldn't afford to pay their school fees, still let them have an education. Like, she was that kind of woman. And then all of us are here. I'm Miss Universe. I have this media career. I'm acting because my grandma made sacrifices. So this campaign, imagine what each and every one of those girls that we are sponsoring and supporting, what they're going to go on to do in their life.
What a legacy. What a legacy.
That's like, it's everything for me. I'm really excited. I've just started sponsoring a 3-year-old girl in Nepal. So I'm excited to get to meet her, see her community and see the difference that she will make because she's getting the resources she rightly deserves.
If someone's looking to do some advocacy work themselves, like, how would they go about, like, finding something that they really feel passionate about? Have you got any advice on that?
I do, because funnily enough, when, like, you sign up to Miss Universe, you have to have a cause or like an advocacy or a platform, because effectively you want to be a global spokesperson, right? And I remember thinking at the time, like, it felt like a weird thing to answer, because I thought, how do I pick just one? And the way that I thought about it was, okay, based on my lived experiences, I just know that inclusivity broadly encapsulates what I'm trying to say, because a lack of it is why people experience racism. A lack of it is why, you know, you have gender inequality, why people from the LGBTQIA plus community experience systemic disadvantage. And so for me, I sort of just thought, well, this personally has been the reality of my lived experiences. So I care about it and I'm going to dedicate my life to it, because it's not just a cause, it's my life. Perhaps say maybe you've not experienced these things and you just want to use, you know, the privilege and the resources you have. It's just find something that resonates with you. You know, take your time researching, start with your circles of influence. And if your advocacy starts at the dinner table with your family members, that's enough. That's more than enough. It's amazing, and let it grow.
Yeah,
so
I think if everyone did that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting close to the end here. And before you go, there's a question that we're asking everybody. Never give up is a personal mantra of mine. And I often talk about the fact that when it comes to things that really matter to you, you can feel like you want to give up as long as you don't. Have you ever had a moment, and can you share with us a moment when you really did feel like giving up, but you somehow managed to pull through?
When I first won Miss Universe Australia, there was a tabloid article that was written about me by a tabloid that didn't like how I called them out for their reporting on racism. It was like literally the week prior to me winning. And so when I won, they were like, hey, we'd love to do an interview with you. And I'm like, no, I'm not even going to touch that. And I saw that an article went live anyway. And they twisted something I'd said. So mind you, at the time, I was working full-time for the government, starting to do the social media thing, and I just won Miss Universe. I was also volunteering, doing like HR coaching for people in the pandemic, because that was I was a talent acquisition, I was doing that. So I was doing all this work. The headline was, I'm too beautiful to get a job. But it ended up going viral. Like, it was picked up by like all these other publications. Yes, it's very easy to look at someone and kind of go, well, you're an idiot, you've got a bad attitude, and just to hate without reading. And it's interesting because there may have been 1 or 2 people who actually read the article and said, I've read this, and nowhere in it does she ever say any of this. You people are insane for believing a clickbait headline. But what happened was, like, I remember my Instagram in that week grew by like 10,000 people. And I was getting death threats this is right after winning. So I'm new to all this. Like, I'm like, oh, it's finally Miss Universe Australia. How amazing I've got here. And I was getting messages like, kill yourself. And then things like deport her and like the racism. That was so hard as someone who's new to this that I remember, and my brother was away that particular week. And he always jokes about it. He's like, I came home and you were like in fetal position, crying on the floor, saying, I don't want it, I don't want this.
But you've worked so hard for something.
You get to that moment.
And then someone just like takes it away from you.
And it kind of was really defeating, because like, funnily enough, the week before that, I actually got a letter from the dean from Melbourne Uni congratulating me on my achievements. And here they were saying, you're too beautiful to get a job. And I remember thinking, like, I graduated from my degrees at first class honours. I've got a great job. And it doesn't matter what the proof is. People can take anything and say it, and all of a sudden everyone believes it. So much felt out of control for me. And it felt like, why am I even wanting this? Why am I doing this? I don't want this career. And I remember actually saying that to my agent and to my brother. I won't do this. It's not worth it. I don't know like how mentally I'm meant to get up every day when my phone it's just abuse. So I really did want to give up. But I remember firstly, giving myself the grace of this actually is a really hard thing for anyone, whether you're seasoned in this industry or not. That is a hard thing to experience and go through, bullying on that scale, and it's like quite threatening. So I gave myself the grace and let myself sort of switch off my notifications for a week, have all the feelings. My manager let me call her any time of the day or night when I needed to cry and be like, I'm overwhelmed. Sat with my brother, my parents, grounded with my parents and my friends, the people who were there long before this, who will be there long after it. And I sort of gave myself the space to feel, but then I remembered that the fact that this is happening and that people are so easily racist and sexist and horrible, that's actually why I have to keep going. And I also remembered feeling like I didn't come this far to buckle. There were so many people who were looking to me and saying, I feel Australian because you represent Australia, and I've never felt that. So I didn't go that far for them to then just buckle. And the people doing that ended up becoming my reason to push through. And that was that never give up moment. And if I did, I just think about how different my life might have been. And because I didn't give up, I am so much more self-assured and strong, and I know what I'm capable of. I got through that. So the next challenge, I can get through it. The next challenge, I can get through it. So it really is a mindset.
Yeah, and that support group is so important.
Yes.
And we are so glad that you didn't give up. So we have the fast 5. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Warm up. What is the first thing you do in the morning to set yourself up for the day?
I meditate.
Meditate.
And I've started doing a higher self meditation, which is really lovely. You can just like look them up on Spotify, but I think it just gets your mind in the headspace of where you want to be. It's great.
Song or artist that's your go-to when you need some hype or motivation?
Ariana Grande, always. I love Ari. And I loved her long before everyone started jumping on the fan, bandwagon with Wicked. I've always loved my Ari.
Proudest moment?
Winning the Voice of Now at Marie Claire, because that was like, I feel recognised by the industry, by amazing women. But also there's a video that my brother has of the moment I won Miss Universe Australia. My parents watched it from lockdown. The 3 of them were on the couch holding hands. I've never seen them shoot up and scream so loud the minute I won. And I can't watch that video without being brought to tears.
You're making me come to tears.
I'll show it to you and you'll cry. It's just, my eyes are like welling up.
Yeah.
It's like proudest moment. Oh.
Okay, love that.
Stop, Lorna.
No. Okay, something that surprises people about you.
I have a phobia of like hair on the floor. Like I want to just kind of go left of center because everything's been so lovely. But I have this thing where I like jump out of my skin if I see like hair on the floor.
So where do you brush your hair then?
Well, I brush it, but then I'll brush my hair and then I'll flush it down the toilet because I don't want to see it on the floor. I will vacuum my bathroom every time I brush my hair. And I was actually tested for this when I did I'm a Celebrity, the psychologist did it. I'm a little bit higher on the OCD spectrum. So I think with that cleanliness and the hair thing, it surprises people.
I think high achievers are probably like that. I brush my hair in the shower.
Yes, I do it
and
too.
then you can sort of collect it and then you can...
I make a hairball and then I'll put it in the bin.
Yeah.
But like imagine, and people would know this, but imagine being like my girlfriend who sometimes like walks in the bathroom and there's like a hairball that I've forgotten to take out of the shower or like in the door.
She would love that hairball.
She's just like people don't know these things about you and it's just, it's hair on the floor.
I love it. I love it. Last one word to describe 2025 for you.
Breakthrough.
Breakthrough. I love that. I love that one.
Yeah.
And as you know, this series is all about celebrating stories of growth and giving back.
Yep.
And I want to thank you for sharing your journey with us today. It's been lovely having you on the show.
Thank you, Lorna.
I loved her the moment I met her.
Same.
To honour your time, we're thrilled to donate $5,000 to a charity close to your heart.
Yes.
I'd love to hear which charity you've chosen and why that means so much to you.
Yep. So I chose Oz Harvest for a couple of reasons. I first learned about them through my best friend, who is amazing and is obsessed with the work that they do. So for people who don't know, it's all about, sustainability when it comes to food and providing food relief, which to me was the biggest reason I wanted to choose them, because I think at the moment in this economy, a lot of people are doing it tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know, coming out of Christmas, around the start of the year, people have spent everything, and a lot of people are doing it tough in a time that's meant to be about love and joy and family. So I wanted to donate to Oz Harvest because I think with the money that we're donating, that's going to provide thousands of meals to people, and I couldn't think of a more worthy thing to do with it. So, and I met Ronnie Khan, who is an absolute legend. Fabulous, like just exactly like, like what I was saying, the way I describe you, just surprises you in every way. I love when you just can't figure a person out. They're just amazing and ever evolving, and Ronnie's a legend.
They're themselves.
She's
I just
so herself.
love that. And
yes.
we love you. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Alana.